Hey guys, this is Stalker, and I'd like to welcome you to my Real Bout Fatal Fury guide. Obviously, we have all been hit by Corona, and I figure what better time to learn a dead game for you guys than this very moment when a lot of us aren't leaving the house, and we need stuff to play. So, I'm going to recommend you guys what I think is the best game in the Fatal Fury series, and yes, I'm including Garo Mark of the Wolves. As good as that game is, this game is much more explosive, much more impactful, leaves a much better impression. So let's get it started without further ado. I'm going to show you guys how to get it going with the main character himself, Terry Bogard. And I guess I'll go against Billy since his stage has fantastic music. So, I'm going to go straight into movement. Alright, movement's pretty simple. You have forward walk, back walk, crouch, jump, and hop. To hop, you just tap up instead of holding up. Now, you can also change your jump trajectory with dashing. Backdash, by the way, has invulnerability for characters until their feet land on the ground. You'll notice there's a little hop there. Forward dash covers quite a bit of space, and some characters have a dashing normal. Right? Terry, for example, has a dashing heavy. We'll go over the buttons in a second. But he has a dashing heavy that functions as an overhead, which is his only overhead, unfortunately. Alright, moving on from that, when you dash forward, you also change your jump trajectory to give it a little bit more of coverage, right? So I'm going to jump here. You notice I didn't get the cross up, but if I dash, I guess my spacing isn't the best. Well, let's do it from here. You'll see I got a little bit closer, right? There you go. Alright, but you get the idea. Okay, moving on from that. Let's see, because I have a actual little specials guide here. Alright. You have your hops. And I do want to point out that you do get different normals from hops than you do off jumps for some buttons. For example, this is Terry's jumping heavy. There's a fist that aims downward. No, that's his hop heavy, sorry. His jumping heavy is this kick. So don't think of hops and jumps in entirely the same light because they do change certain normals. Now that being said, for a kick, it's the same thing. And for punch, it's the same. Okay. So, crouching, you hold down, back, you hold down forward to crawl. That's right. Crawling is not a new thing that was invented by Guile in Street Fighter V. It's been around in Fatal Fury games and Sam Show for a while. So the way you crawl is you hold down forward, and this is good for characters like Kim and Terry because they have charge specials. They have charge motions. You know, we all know about Terry's rising tackle, and it's still pretty good in this game. It basically functions as his anti-air, right? So you have crouch blocking, same as blocking. Now, when you block an attack, you do not need to continue blocking the attack. You can just tap back, and your character will. Let's see. Get a reversal. But you get the idea. Let me actually switch characters because Billy does not have a multi-hitting normal. So let's see, who does? Well, Krauser does, and his stage music is just as good. Alright. Alright, you see there, that's multi-hit. Now you notice my meter is not full, right? But I'm just going to tap back. I'm no longer holding back, right? I just tap it momentarily, catch the normal, and I block the rest of it. And the reason for this is the game has something called break shot, which is effectively a guard cancel, right? And we'll go over that when we cover meter, right? Now, I may as well go over the buttons now. You know, A is punch, B is kick, C is jolt skill, which is your heavy attack, more or less, and D is line shift, and basically your movement button, right? So line shift, we'll go over that in its own section, but right now I want to go over the midair turn. When you jump, you can turn any jump in into a cross up with midair turn. You press D and it turns your opponent around. Turns your character around, sorry. Right? And as you can imagine, this can be very useful. So every character has it, just so you know. Another thing you have is feints, but we will go over that later when we cover chains. But for now, just understand that it is a fake startup that you can go into off any cancelable normal. Right? So, avoid attacks. A plus B is a normal that is cancelable, and it also can be invulnerable to other normals. So you can use it against other characters to beat. Krauser, not so much. Okay, there you go. Yeah, it's really hard to do on Krauser because his fucking hand is so big. But against other characters, I promise you, it's not that difficult. But yeah, it is a cancelable, universal normal that you know, every character has. Every character has an avoid attack. Let's go over throws. Right, throwing is very simple. You walk up to your opponent, you can press backing heavy or forward and heavy. There is like a second and a half of throw protection on wake up in this game. You'll see right there I got the heavy instead of the throw, despite the fact that I was right in their face. And if you played Garo, you are aware that in these games you have to be right in your opponent's face to throw them. Alright, safe fall. When you're knocked down, you can press, I believe, D and down to get back up. But you have to be in H power or higher. And we are in H power, so I will show you guys right now. You'll notice there that Terry recovered. If I don't do that, I just stand up normally, right? You'll see there, I'm just slowly getting back up. But if I press down and D, Terry does a little back hop, creating a little bit of space, doing a quick recovery. This is only possible when you're in H power. The other way you can recover off the ground is up and D, which lets you roll into the background. And you can do this, I believe, whether you are in H power or not. We'll go over H power later. Right? Pursuit attacks. Some characters have pursuit attacks. Obviously, famously, Geese has his ground throw, where he just grabs you, picks you up, and slams you again. Krauser has the elbow. Terry does not have any pursuit attacks, but you get the idea. It's a character-specific option. That being said, if your opponent has a pursuit attack, it makes safe fall recovery that much more valuable, because that's how you avoid it. Alright, line shift recovery. We already went over that. That was when you knock down. You press up and D to roll into the background, right? But just to be sure, in case I'm getting ahead of myself, let me show you guys. You'll see that Terry rolled into the background. Right. Let's set him to stand. Okay. Taunt, C plus D. You cannot cancel it with any buttons, but you can cancel it with movement. Right? NM, break shot. Once again, we'll go over this. We may as well cover meter now. Right? So, let's do that. You'll see that Terry is in a... His meter says H power right now. So H power is when your meter is at half or above. 50% or higher, you go into H power. And the way you build meter in this game is either landing attacks, doing specials, or blocking attacks. Blocking gives you the least amount of meter, right? So the reason H power is valuable is because it gives you access to break shots. So let's set Krauser to attack. So you saw it said break shot there. It basically is an alpha counter, right? You saw I ate a little bit of damage there. Now I will say this, break shots are a lot easier to do on more than one hit than they are to do on just a single hit. So you usually do them during chains, but That being said, if the opponent follows up with a multi-hitting attack, like say Terry's Rising Tackle in response to your break shot, the tackle will probably win. Multi-hitting attacks can beat the startup of break shots, right? So they're not completely, you know, amazing, but they have their uses. So I was just building meter there. See right there, Burning Knuckles, another good one for Terry. Crack Shot, obviously, very good for Terry. He also has one that's actually a launcher. Let's see. He has a 236B, which gives him a follow-up for about 25%, right? So you'll notice there that when I did the break shot, it took about 25% of my meter. And once again, when you are not an H power, you cannot do a break shot. So you need to build that meter back up, right? Moving on from there, you have S power. So when you build up your meter all the way, and we'll just do a couple Burning Knuckles. Alright, so you see now I'm in S power, and now that the meter is full, it will always deplete, right? It will always go down until it goes 0. You have access to break shots, you have access to your super, and you have access to quick recovery, right? You have access to all the same stuff in H, but the only thing that you get added to is a light super, which is called your S power. Terry's light super is his power geyser. Hold up. Yeah, there you go. So he was coming in from the background, so it didn't work. So I'm going to set my meter to be permanently in S power so you can get the idea. Now, because it's permanently there, you didn't see it, but once you use your super in S power, your meter goes back to 0. It is probably more valuable to hold on to your meter for break shots, but that being said, supers do a very nice chunk of damage. And in Terry's case, this particular super is a very good it's a very good tool to use as an anti-air if you see a big whiff. Let's see. And the motion for this is 21416 BC. Yeah. It's the standard, you know, power geyser move. Now, you'll notice that there's 2 health bars in this game, right? You see there's a red one behind the yellow one. And there's a reason for this. Similar to a game like Last Blade. Or I guess I would say certain KOF games. You know, if you've ever played CVS2 and you're familiar with S-Groove, you might be familiar with this. But basically, when your health is in the red, you have unlimited access to S power. And just to show you this, I'm going to set the meter to normal. So right now, I now have unlimited access to single hit power geyser, right? And there's no flash for this. There's no flash for this, and Terry also has a feint. Right? So this can steal games. Certain characters have really good S powers that you can, you know, use indefinitely. Right? Kim, for example, can actually combo into his off a jump in. Like it's an air S power, but he can do jump AB, which is a jumping chain into it. And he can also Tiger Knee it. Terry, obviously, don't you dare jump in on him when his life is slashing red, because at any point he could just drop this. Okay, so moving on from that. Now, here's the thing. When you are flashing red, you still have access to H power, but something changes when the meter fills up. And we'll go over that right now. So you see there it says P power. Now, this is functionally the same as S power. But the difference is you now not only have access to your S power, you have access to your P power, which is your big super, right? This one causes the screen flash. This one does a ton of damage. For most characters, this is, you know, pretty good. For some characters, their S power is much better. For example, Hanfu has a pretty good S power, but his P power is one of the worst in the game. It's practically useless. So you're better off, when you're in P power, you're better off using break shots or sticking to your S power, right? So we'll go with Terry's here. I didn't get the combo there, but you saw the damage of that. So let's get the actual full combo here. Let me set the meter to full. Yeah, that's about 60%, right? off. Now, one of the things I love about this game is when you get past that first health bar, you get into the red one, changes up the game completely for certain characters. Like I said, Terry, like you need to stop jumping in on him because he can always just power geyser you. And that's the thing. I've done this move, and even when it trades, right? I've won off trades because they'll jump in with like a normal, and they'll be hit. They'll be hit by the wave. So you get the idea. It changes the dynamic of the game, right? It's like, you know, when you're playing against an opponent and they have meter and you need to be wary of their super. Well, now you have to be extra wary because they can infinitely use their light super, right? And again, like the other supers, the P power. By the way, the P power, when you use it, it does deplete the whole meter once again, the same way S power does when you are not in red health. But we'll show you that right now. Let's see. Build up that meter. Okay. So I'm gonna put myself in red health. You see it went all the way down, right? So that's basically how meter functions. But now I want to go into the lane shift. Lane shift is pretty important. You don't really need meter too much for this, outside of a few things. But let's go over it. So to switch planes, you just press D. Once again, the button layout in this game is A, B, C, D. Right? When you are in the back plane, you can press A for a overhead, B for a low, or D for a blockable mid attack that gives you enough time to confirm. Which I believe Terry's best is something like that. Yeah, so it is something like that. But you get the idea. Okay, so the strong attack, you can actually link stuff off it. But it is not safe. Right? It leaves you very vulnerable afterwards. Whereas these little hits that you don't get anything off, you're safe. You're safe after them. Now, the thing about the planes is that it basically functions as a two-way mix-up. As in, your opponent has a mix-up and you have a mix-up, and you have to acknowledge each other's options. Right? So, when you're in the back plane, I want to go over what you have. You can hold up to stay up there. As long as you're moving, you will stay up there. You can block in the back plane. And you can dash. If you dash, it immediately takes you out. And when you dash, also, you can go into one of your plane normals. So you can go for the low. Even if it crosses up, you can go for it. You can go for the mid. Right there. Something like that. Okay. So let's see. You can roll to the front by pressing down. You can also press down and D to do it a little bit faster. If you hold down, you see he kind of crouches for a second. And let's see. You press D again, you go back to the front plane. Now, most characters have a string. This game is all about target combos, or strings, right? Similar to, like, Tekken, I guess. Terry has a few strings. He has ABC, which is not cancelable. He has AB6C, which is also not cancelable. But you notice there, it knocked the opponent into the background. And then right there, it presses D. So I'm going to knock Krauser in the background, right? And when your opponent's in the background, you have a few options as well. You can do 2D to sweep them back in, right, with a low. Or you can press D to hit them with what is I believe it is an overhead. So yeah, it knocks them back into the foreground. And when your opponent's trying to get you with the mix-up there, this is how you defend yourself, basically. Let's say they go for the high, you go for this. Very simple. So you're putting each other in. When you go into the background, you are putting yourself and your opponent in a 50-50 situation. And to me, that's pretty fun. That's pretty exciting. Okay. We went over the low plane attack. Like I said, when you knock them back, you go. The low will sweep them down. And this will leave them standing. The D versus 2D. That's the only difference. Now, the front plane character, when the back plane character is out there, the front plane character cannot duck walk, right? See, I'm trying it here. It doesn't move me forward until he starts going back in. The back plane character, when he's in the back, cannot perform special moves unless specified. Some characters do have specials they can access from the back plane. I know Andy Bogard has one. They cannot perform supers. They cannot crouch, but you can crouch block. You see, I'm holding down forward and down back. It's not crouching. But if crowds were to attack, I could crouch block, right? The backplane character cannot duck walk. The backplane character cannot jump, right? And we already went over dashing. When you dash, it immediately takes you out of the backplane. Standing still for 2 seconds. Standing still will put you back in, and holding up will keep you there as long as you keep holding it. I'm holding it this whole time. And walking will also let you stay back there. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the plane stuff. But you do have, like I said, every character should have at least one string that knocks the opponent into the back plane, and some characters have a string that that puts them in the back plane. For example, a string or a special. Terry, for example, has 236D, which puts him in the back plane, giving him plus frames for a mix-up. See right there. He also has a normal in 6B that knocks him into the back plane. So yeah, some characters are very interactable with this stuff, right? And that's pretty much the gist of it. The only thing I need to go over is chains. So to do that, we're going to go look at Kim Kef 1. So let me show you Kim Kef 1. That's not to say Terry doesn't have chains, but Kim has more simple ones. And it'll also be easier to show you feint cancels with him. So let's pick, let's go with Geese. Let's go with Geese. I like his stage boost. Okay, so Kim has very basic strings, right? He has ABC, which knocks him in the background. He has AABC, and the C hit is that those last two hits, which is, I believe, is far C. This close C is this multi-hitting button here, which you can cancel or chain after the first hit, right? You got your proximity normals. So it's very important to know what you can chain into, what you can't. This move is not chainable, but the close heavy is, right? Alright, so I want to go over chains, and basically every character has a set number of target combos or chains that you can go into. Not all these chains are cancelable. For example, ABC does knock them in the background, but it is not oh wait, it is cancelable. Huh. Okay. Even better. That one's not cancelable, right? So the last hit of this string is not cancelable, which is AABC. Right? But you can do AAB. That is cancelable. Right? So sometimes you want to finish the string, sometimes you don't. Let me see, other strings he has. CABC, which is his really, really strong string. Now the reason the string is strong is because it gives him basically the same damage he'd get off a super. Since it launches, it allows him to follow up with a special there. And you notice that by the way is his 288 charge, right? That's not a Dragon Punch. It is a combo. It's a combo ender. This is his flash kick. This is anti-air, which is 28B, another charge special. Okay. Now going into feints. Feints are very important because for certain characters, they allow you to get better recovery than you normally would, right? So I'm gonna do standing C with Kim. Now you notice he has to wheel his leg back, right? But look what happens there. And if I set the opponent to guard, I didn't mean to throw. You notice that they were in block stun, whereas there, that is relatively safe, but it lets me recover a lot faster. Terry's actually a good example of that. Terry uses his feints in a way that lets him recover a lot quicker off of blocked chains, off of blocked cancelable launcher chains, right? But Kim uses them better offensively because it lets him confirm into certain strings. I'll show you guys right now. So I missed the link there. Now I'm going for the link manually without the feint, right? The link is CA, chain, and then AB, which is another chain. Now, if you do not do the feint, you will not get this. There you go. So I think you guys saw that the chain is possible because the feint gives me the recovery that I need to confirm into the next to link into the next part of that string, right? Now that's effectively how they work. You can get a ton of damage off of feint cancels like this. For example, let's see, I didn't get it there. Right there. You saw that? That was very simple. Okay, that's off super. Yep. So that was a little under 60%. You know. Trying to get the. Now I'm trying to get like the air. There you go. Yeah. Kim's really good at damage. But I think you get the idea. So, like, when you're in the corner, you can get a little bit more damage than normal. Certain strings get, like, maybe one more hit. For example, this string gets 7 hits in the corner, whereas it gets 6 in mid-range. But the string works both ways. But you get the idea. I'm going to go back to Terry just to show you the defensive capabilities of this. And then we will finish up this guide. Well, not yet. I'll tell you I'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. How about that? Let's pick Yamazaki. There you go. Alright, so we're gonna cover one-line stages and the properties of feints. So you'll see there, this string in particular is one of Carrie's very easy decently damaging mid-range strings. Right? But let's say it gets blocked. Now, if it gets blocked, you're not going to confirm into the Burning Knuckle because that leaves you very vulnerable, right? But what you can do is do a feint. Decreases your recovery, sure. That's what I meant to say. So you'll notice there it makes it safe. In Terry's case, this is very valuable. Kim doesn't really have that problem because a lot of his strings, as long as you do the confirm properly, they don't actually have a ton of recovery, so he's very, very good. He's very safe as long as you don't mash your chains out. But in Terry's case, you can do the whole chain without the special and just cancel into fake Power Geyser or fake Burning Knuckle, right? The other thing about Terry is because his feints are... One of his feints is for a move that he can use in neutral normally, which is Burn Knuckle, right? So it also causes them to block if they're holding back. Because it functions as the startup. You know, I think it causes them to block. But yeah, it functions as a startup of the move, even though he's not actually going into it. And Terry, of course, has the same benefit of other characters. In that he can also, like, you know, he can also use it to cancel into certain. Like right there. Now, he doesn't use it as much as, like, say... He won't use it, say, as much as Kim. But the point is, it's there. You saw I got a nice little bit of damage off the... You know, I got a nice little chunk of damage there off the cancel. It's just not as reliable as Kim's. But you get the idea. So the other thing I wanted to show you guys is we are now on a one-line stage. And the thing about one-line stages is you cannot enter the background. I'm actually mashing D right now, and it won't let me, right? But what you can do is use a string that would knock them into the background, right? And you'll see that little bounce back there. You can get a follow-up. In Terry's case, you know, I'm sure you can get more, but yeah, he gets Burning Knuckle right there. He can't get the heavy one, but he can do Rising Tackle if you charge it in time. By the way, you can start charging. You can start charging it as soon as like you go for the. As soon as you go for the forward. You can basically pre-can the AB6C. Yeah. So I would try it out. Like I basically press it and it comes out a little bit later. Remember, it's a target combo. You have plenty of time. But that's the idea. So these one-line stages, any special that would knock you into the back or you know, put you in the background, anything like that, you can't no longer do. So I am trying to do 236D and it is not working. But there's always, you know, there's always a silver lining, right? It's not all hope is lost. Some characters benefit a little, probably more greatly from that. In Terry's case, because he can interact with the backline so well, you probably want to stay on a two-line stage. But some characters may not necessarily. Some characters do not have that many options for backline outside of the universal ones, right? So that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the guide, guys. I do want to recommend that I did learn a lot of my information from Dream Cancel. There's actually a tier list up there that tells you which characters are stronger with a description of what they are good at. So I'm gonna I'm gonna share the link in the description. Another thing is there's a YouTuber called Drunken Master 226, I believe, who has actual real bout guides for certain characters. They're very short, very effective. They pretty much tell you what you need to know, and you know, once again, strongly recommend it. He doesn't have something for every character, but the fact that they're there is, you know, is valuable enough. If you guys are wondering who the strongest characters in the game are, I will say that Rick is easily the strongest character in the game. He also has probably the best P power in the game because it can hit from anywhere. Kim is what happens when you take a footsie character and give him just very good stuff. He's just very effective. And then Chonchu is a mix-up demon with all the tools you would want a Shoto to have. Mary is an interesting case because she's mid-tier unless she uses her her P power, which basically gives her 3 new special moves, new confirms, and lets her do a ton of damage. I'm actually going to go over Mary because it lets me go over something else, and that is that not every character has a good feint cancel. In Mary's case, this is like I think her only feint cancel, and unfortunately it does not recover in time to actually let you do anything, and it doesn't really function as a fake out. It's also a fake of her DP, so which her DP is not very good. Yeah, her DP is not very good. Mary's not to say bad, but yeah. So when she's in P power, she has basically she can basically confirm into super off like specials. It's pretty wild. It also gives her like, you know, gives her a ton of stuff. So yeah, she goes from basically mid tier to top tier when she's in escalation. But again, remember what I said about the feint cancels. Not every character has the same options as other ones, but I do think in this particular case, this game, every character can win. Every character should have something that's valuable. Some characters are a lot stronger than others. Like I said, Kim, Chonchu, and Rick easily being the best character. Other strong characters are Franco Bash because he's a mix-up demon, and his buttons are fucking huge. Geese can basically just shred your health away very quickly, but he does take quite a bit of work. Yamazaki does have very strong stuff. Terry is a very straightforward character. I'd say he's high tier, but not top. And that's pretty much like all I'll say, but I will say that every character has the capability to win in this game. Um, and if you know, even with the janky stuff, like Bob, for example, is mid-tier, right? And he has an infinite that can just, once he hits you with it, which is not even that hard to hit you with it, once he has it, it's like, he just kills you, right? And yet he's nowhere near as good as Kim, right? I would say that, because Kim is just so efficient at what he tries to do. Despite the fact that Kim does not have an infinite, he does not have touch of death, what he has is very good footsies, right? So this is a very fun game, and I would liken it to a game like Samurai Shodown 5 Special, in that there is jank, absolutely, but it is still a very balanced game, despite the disparity between the cast in terms of tier. Any character with a good pilot can win any game, right? So that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the guide. Last thing I want to say is there is no current re-release of this game that has online play, right? So the version I'm playing right now is the PS2 port of Fatal Fury Battle Archives Volume 2, which also comes with Real Bout and Real Bout Special. And this version of the game, it's not bad. It comes with the 2 extra games, but it is a PS2 port. And for some reason on PS4, they want you to use the touchpad as a start button, so if you do not have a touchpad on your stick or on your pad, it can be a little annoying to get the game started. For example, I play on a Saturn pad, and to get this started and recorded, I have to also be using my DS4 on another PS4 account. And I need to know what my map is for like pressing start. That being said, there is an ACA port. It does not have online either, but it is a very good port. It is very easy to get into. It's basically emulation, but it is good. It's a good port. And the only way you can play the game online is, I believe, through Fightcade. I don't have any experience on Fightcade. I play the game locally, very much so, but you can play it online. And you know, I'm in the East. There is an East Coast SNK Discord I'm a part of. There is a Real Bout 2 page in there. So once again, guys, I'd like to thank you guys for joining me. I hope you guys are doing well throughout all this Corona nonsense. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope you guys are healthy. So if you have the time, which I'm assuming you do, please check this game out. You know, learn it a bit, play it with friends. If I was to say Garo is a straightforward, very defensive game, this game has more explosive movement and action and defense. In that sense, I would compare it very, very, very much so to Real Bout 2. I'm saying Real Bout 2. I would compare it very much so to Samurai Shodown 5 Special. So if you love that game, I think you guys will really like this one, right? So you guys have a good night. This has been Stalker signing out, and I'd like to thank for the people who helped me out here. I'd like to thank Overlord M, aka my good friend Matt. I'd like to thank Convicted of Fun, Ryan Mejia, for basically like getting me back into this game after years of not playing. Just bringing it to locals randomly, and you know what's like, fuck it, dude, I love Fatal Fury. I'd like to thank my girlfriend, so, you know, for supporting me. So once again, have a good night, guys. Stay safe. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to hit me up on Twitter. It will be down there in the description box, along with some other resources that you guys can use to learn the game. So, it's been fun, guys. Stalker out.